My wife's lover sent me a photo of them in my bed, with the text, "This is her man now." I replied, "You can have her. You can have the bed too." Then I sent him the bill for the bed, the mattress, Wi-Fi bill, and the overdue rent for the apartment they were both about to be evicted from. I, 34M, never thought my life would implode over a text message at 9 in the morning on a Tuesday. I was sitting in my office, 3 cups of coffee deep into another mundane workday, when my phone buzzed. The number was unfamiliar, but the image that loaded made my stomach drop. It was my wife in our bed, tangled up with someone I'd never seen before. The text that followed was simple and cruel. "This is her man now." I stared at that message for what felt like an hour, but was probably 30 seconds. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. Instead, something cold and calculating settled over me like a winter fog. I typed back quickly, "You can have her. You can have the bed too." His response came immediately, some laughing emoji followed by more gloating I didn't bother reading. He thought he'd won something. What he didn't know was that he'd just walked into a trap I didn't even know I was setting. The apartment we lived in wasn't in my wife's name. It was in mine. The lease, the utilities, the internet, the furniture, everything. She'd moved in with me 3 years ago when we got married, and I'd never thought to change any of it. Why would I? We were supposed to be building a life together. I opened my banking app and checked our accounts. She'd been spending more than usual over the past 2 months, but nothing that raised immediate red flags. Dinners out, new clothes, a weekend trip she said was for her sister's birthday. I'd believed every word because I'm apparently an idiot. I called my landlord next. He picked up on the third ring, and I asked him a simple question about breaking the lease early. He told me I could, but I'd lose my deposit and still owe for the remainder of the month. Then he mentioned something I'd completely forgotten. We were actually 2 months behind on rent. My wife had been handling the payments, or so I thought. Apparently, she'd been telling me she paid while pocketing the money for her little extracurricular activities. That's when the plans started forming. I left work early, telling my boss I had a family emergency. That wasn't technically a lie. I drove home carefully, deliberately, my mind running through everything I needed to do. When I pulled into the parking lot, her car was gone. Good. I let myself into the apartment and looked around with fresh eyes. The bed that featured so prominently in that morning's photo had been an expensive purchase. I'd saved up for months to buy it because she wanted something luxurious. The mattress alone cost more than my first car. I pulled out my phone and found the receipts, both clearly in my name with my credit card information. I photographed everything. The furniture I'd bought, the TV and entertainment system, the kitchen appliances, even the decorative items I'd purchased to make the place feel like home. Then I started packing. Not everything, just my essentials. Clothes, documents, laptop, things I'd need immediately. I worked methodically, without emotion, boxing up my life while mentally calculating the cost of everything I was leaving behind. Then I sat down and composed a message to the unknown number. I attached the receipt for the bed and mattress, a total of just over $3,000. I included the last 3 months of internet bills, each showing the service in my name. Then I attached a screenshot of my conversation with the landlord, showing the 2 months of overdue rent plus the current month, totaling nearly $5,000. The message I wrote was brief. "Since you're the man now, here are the bills for that bed you're enjoying. Also included are the utilities and the rent that's overdue. The landlord will be coming for payment by the end of the week, otherwise you're both getting evicted. Enjoy your new responsibilities." I hit send and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, just empty. His response came 10 minutes later. The cocky tone was gone. He asked if I was serious. I didn't reply. Instead, I called the landlord back and explained the situation. I told him I was moving out, that my wife and her friend would be staying, and that they'd assured me they would handle all outstanding payments. I gave him the unknown number as the contact for future rent collection. The landlord wasn't happy about the situation, but he appreciated the heads up. He told me he'd be sending an official notice to the apartment about the overdue payments and the terms for staying. I thanked him and ended the call. My phone started ringing. It was my wife. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. On the 4th call, I answered and held the phone away from my ear as she screamed questions at me. Where was I? What did I send to him? Why was I doing this? I waited for her to run out of breath and then spoke calmly. I told her I'd received an interesting photo that morning. I told her I was done. I told her she could have the apartment and everything in it, but she'd need to figure out how to pay for it all because my name was coming off everything effective immediately. She started to cry, switching from anger to desperation in seconds. She said it wasn't what it looked like, that she could explain, that he meant nothing. I asked her how long it had been going on. She went quiet. I asked again. She admitted it had been 4 months. For months of lies while I worked overtime to help pay for her expenses. For months while I believed we were solid, planning our future, talking about maybe buying a house next year. I told her I'd be by tomorrow with a friend to collect the rest of my belongings, and that she should make arrangements to take over the lease or find somewhere else to live. Then I hung up. She called back immediately, but I blocked the number. The unknown number texted me again. He was panicking now, saying he didn't know she was married, that she told him she was separated and just waiting for the divorce to finalize. He said he didn't have $5,000 and couldn't pay the overdue rent. He asked if we could work something out. I replied with one word, no. Then I blocked him too. I checked into a hotel that night and started looking for a new apartment. Something smaller, cheaper, just for me. I called my lawyer the next morning and filed for divorce, citing adultery. In our state, that actually mattered for asset division. My lawyer was optimistic that I'd come out of this relatively unscathed financially, especially given the circumstances and evidence. My wife tried reaching me through friends and family. I told everyone the truth, showed them the photo that started everything, and explained what I'd done. The reactions were mixed. Some thought I was being cruel. Most thought I was being fair. My brother said I was being strategic and that he was proud of me for not falling apart. Update 1. It's been 3 days since I sent those messages and moved out. The fallout has been swift and exactly as messy as I expected. My wife showed up at my office yesterday, somehow finding out where I was working despite me not telling anyone. Security had to escort her out after she caused a scene in the lobby. She was screaming about how I'd ruined her life, how I was vindictive and cruel, how she deserved better than this. The irony of her saying she deserved better wasn't lost on anyone who witnessed it. The landlord contacted me to confirm I was officially off the lease. I went down to the office, signed the paperwork, and provided him with all the documentation showing the apartment had been my sole financial responsibility. He asked if my wife would be taking over. I told him that was between them to figure out. He looked tired and annoyed but thanked me for at least being straightforward. According to a mutual friend who still talks to my wife, she's been frantically trying to come up with the overdue rent. Her lover, the guy who was so confident about being her man now, apparently disappeared the day after I sent him those bills. Just vanished. Stopped answering her calls, blocked her on everything. Turns out when the fun and games turned into real adult responsibilities, he wasn't so interested anymore. I'd feel bad for her if she hadn't spent 4 months lying to my face. My lawyer called with good news. Because I have documentation of everything, including the adultery, the divorce should be straightforward. We had no kids, no shared property beyond what was in the apartment, and no joint accounts beyond one checking account that had about $400 in it. I told him to split it evenly just to keep things simple. I didn't need her money. I needed her gone. I found a new apartment, a 1-bedroom place about 20 minutes from work. It's smaller than what I had before, but the rent is cheaper and it's all mine. No memories, no ghosts, no photos of us on the walls that I have to take down. I signed the lease yesterday and move in this weekend. My phone has been quiet. After the office incident, my wife hasn't tried to contact me directly. I'm sure she's realizing that the bridge isn't just burned, it's been demolished, the remains scattered, and the ground salted. There's no coming back from this, and I think she finally understands that. Some of my friends have asked if I regret how I handled it. If I think I went too far with sending him the bills and setting them up to deal with the apartment situation. Honestly, no. She made her choices. He made his. They wanted to play house in my bed, in my apartment, on my dime. Now they get to face the reality of what that actually costs. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks. I'm settled into my new place, and life has started to feel almost normal again. The apartment is sparsely furnished since I only took my personal items from the old place, but there's something freeing about the emptiness. It's like a blank slate. The divorce is moving forward. My lawyer says we should have everything finalized within 6 weeks, given how clean-cut everything is. My wife's lawyer tried to argue for spousal support, but mine shut that down quickly with the adultery evidence. Apparently, her lawyer wasn't thrilled when he found out she'd been cheating and had gotten caught so definitively. I heard through the grapevine that my wife and her lover's situation fell apart exactly as I predicted. He bailed the moment real responsibility entered the picture, leaving her alone to deal with the apartment situation. She couldn't come up with the overdue rent, couldn't get approved to take over the lease on her own, and ended up having to move back in with her parents. The landlord kept my deposit to offset some of the overdue amount and told me he'd be pursuing the rest through collections. Part of me thought I'd feel something when I heard she got evicted. Satisfaction, maybe, or vindication. Instead, I just felt tired. Tired of the whole situation, tired of thinking about it, tired of being angry. So I decided to stop. I deleted all her contact information, unfollowed any mutual friends who kept trying to give me updates about her situation, and started focusing on my own life. I've been going to the gym more, something I'd let slide during the marriage. I've been reading again, taking myself out to dinners at places I want to try, reconnecting with friends I'd lost touch with. One of my buddies from college reached out after hearing about the divorce, and we've been hanging out regularly. It's reminded me what it's like to have relationships that aren't built on lies. Work has been good too. Without the distraction of a failing marriage I didn't know was failing, I've been more focused and productive. My boss noticed and hinted at a possible promotion coming up in the next quarter. I'm not counting on it, but it's nice to have something positive to think about. The only contact I've had regarding my ex-wife was from her mother, who called me last week. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. She wanted to know if I'd consider helping her daughter out financially since she was struggling. I told her, as politely as I could, that her daughter's financial situation was a direct result of her own choices and that I had no obligation to bail her out. Her mother called me heartless and hung up. Maybe I am heartless. Or maybe I just finally learned that setting boundaries doesn't make you cruel, it makes you sane. I've started thinking about what I want for the future. Not in the big, abstract way I used to think about it when I was married and everything was theoretical, but in concrete terms. Where do I want to be in a year? What kind of life do I want to build? Who do I want in it? The answer to that last question is definitely not someone who would betray me in our own bed and have her lover send me photos about it. I'm not dating yet. I'm not ready. But I'm also not broken. I thought I would be when this first happened. I thought finding out about the cheating would destroy me, that I'd fall apart and take months to recover. Instead, I feel clearer than I have in years. Like I've been living in fog and someone finally turned on a light. Someone asked me the other day if I forgave her. I thought about it carefully before answering. The truth is, I don't think about her enough anymore to forgive or not forgive her. She's just a chapter of my life that's closed now. The book continues, but she's not in the next part. That unknown number that started all of this. I unblocked it out of curiosity one night, wondering if there were any more messages. There were 3. The first was him panicking about the rent. The second was him angry, calling me names, and saying I'd sabotaged his relationship. The third, sent a week ago, was different. It was an apology. He said he'd been an idiot, that he didn't know the full situation, and that he felt terrible about his part in it. He said my wife had lied to him too, and that he hoped I could move on and find happiness. I didn't respond. I just blocked the number again. His apology, sincere or not, doesn't change anything. It doesn't undo what happened. It doesn't give me back the time I wasted or the trust that was broken. But it did make me realize something. I'm not doing this for revenge anymore. Maybe I was at first, in those initial moments when I sent him the bills and set everything in motion. But now, I'm just doing this for me. Building a life that's mine, making choices that serve my future, and refusing to let someone else's betrayal define who I am. I'm not the guy whose wife cheated on him. I'm just a guy who's starting over. And honestly, starting over doesn't feel so bad. The bed they were in, the one from the photo, I hope they enjoyed it. Because it cost me $3,000 and 4 months of being made a fool. But it taught me something valuable. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. And when they send you photographic evidence of it, make sure they understand exactly what they're signing up for. They wanted to play games. I just changed the rules. And in the end, I'm the one who walked away with my dignity intact. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.